Welcome to Real Estate Success DFW, the podcast where top producing agents from Dallas-Fort Worth come together to share their stories and strategies behind their success. I'm Shaune Corbett, your host, and with over 300 million sold in the local real estate market and the honor of being best of D multiple times, I know what it takes to make it in this market. Each episode, we're going to dive into the world of real estate, learning from the very best in the industry. If you're ready to level up your game, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hey everyone, Shaune Corbett. I have got Ollie Merchant with Ollie Merchant Realty Group, right?
That's correct. It's Merchant Realty Group.
Merchant Realty
is
Group.
The name of the brokerage.
Okay. And he's done a lot of really good things. In fact, we actually met probably a couple of years ago at one of the functions that we were working at. But where I really got more to get to know Ollie is he actually did a real estate panel with me where he was one of the panelists up there. And it was really fun to hear his responses and stuff because he doesn't come from a traditional brokerage model, which I can relate to. I did never work for a broker. I had to kind of figure things out and see how it works, open it out of my garage and see who I could work with and how I could build a brokerage. So I think Ollie and I have some similarities there, but he actually is working out of his mailbox business that he's got in Grapevine. He and I are both in Grapevine, and I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about how you got started in that space, and then we're going to move into real estate. So you've got your mailbox, what's it called?
Pack and Mail.
Pack and Mail in Grapevine right there at
Park and Northwest, which is in the Perry's parking lot. That's one of the easiest. You know, we used to say across from Tom Thumb or catty corner from Tom Thumb and CBS, but now the Perry's is a bigger landmark.
It's become that way. I've gone there probably 3 or 4 times. I've taken my wife on a date a couple of times there. It's very nice.
Yeah, can't beat the Friday lunch.
The T-bones.
Yeah, they have the pork chop, which is, I think, what brings everybody in. But, you know, I don't eat pork myself, but I like the fillets.
It's fantastic. So you opened that business, I think you said in 2008. That's where we started, where we did the mailbox business. And why did you open that business?
So I didn't open it from scratch. I purchased it from the previous owner. I want to say he was the 4th or 5th owner. The store actually opened in 1986 in that same location and was a great establishment. It still is a great establishment, but you know, back then when people didn't have fax machines and copy machines, I mean, to my understanding, they were just killing it in terms of revenue.
Yeah.
And then I picked it up in 2008. You know, at that time, e-commerce was coming in, and you know, we had to do a whole lot to make the pie. You know, we had to do shipping, we had to do notary, you know, passport photos, fax, scan, email, you know, all these variety of things, and printing. So, you know, one day we'd do great in shipping. We'd have a great shipping day. One day we'd have a great day of faxing. One day we'd have, you know, a bunch of passport photos. We did fingerprinting for a long period of time, and then it kind of got weird during COVID when, you know, we had to like really get close to people and, you know, didn't know where they were coming from and you know, what their health condition was. So we stopped right after COVID. We stopped doing the fingerprinting, and just for the revenue versus the risk, you know, having a staff, you know, become sick and then be off for a week because they fingerprinted somebody who maybe, you know, was ill, just wasn't beneficial enough for that.
I feel like most of the local mailbox places all do the shipping thing. Is that probably half your business?
Oh yeah, shipping is, I would say, at least half.
Amazon probably keeps you pretty busy.
Yeah.
And it's not for shipping from, it's shipping to, right? It's a lot of returns.
Yeah, we get, the returns are helpful. I mean, we get a, you know, certain percentage, like, you know, 50 cents or $1 for every package returned. And then the drivers come and pick the packages up every evening. Another profit source that is good in the mailbox stores are the mailboxes. So, you know, we have about 180 mailboxes. We're probably 90% full. And, you know, that helps greatly with like overhead such as rent or employee cost.
I remember when I was starting my business, I got a P.O. box at the post office. It was in South Lake. You know, and I realized that the benefit of having a good address, you know, so like even here in Grapevine is pretty prestigious as well. Having an address in Grapevine is helpful for businesses just to be able to log in and create that.
Yes, I mean, in our case, we had a lot of people who, you know, stayed at the lake for long periods of time where they wouldn't go to their main residence. And so when they were staying at the lake, maybe on their houseboat, they would like to get their address, their mail there. We have a lot of people who have run small businesses, maybe out of their home, or even larger businesses that maybe don't want to use their home address as a mailing point. You have people who order a lot of expensive products that get delivered to their door, but maybe sit on the doorstep for hours at a time and don't want to have the risk of them being,
Gotcha. So you'll receive that for them as a benefit of having a subscription with you or a program.
Yes,
with you.
you just pay a monthly, mailbox fee, and then that would
And
cover
you'll hold it for them.
receiving mail as well as receiving packages, and as long as they pick them up in a timely fashion, then it's
Definitely be more secure having a place to, yeah, for sure. So that was the front office, and then at some point you got into real estate.
That's right.
So
That's
you got
right.
a license, and then became a broker. I mean, you're actually running your own brokerage.
That's right. So 2008, September of '08, the worst time you could probably buy anything. I purchased a pack and mail store.
Yeah.
I had a lot of friends and family tell me this is a big mistake, and why am I doing this? And I said, I have to do something. I was laid off from the call center business, and so not having a degree and not having a place where I could say, hey, I've worked here for so many years. Here's my resume. Here's references. All the call center business actually moved overseas, and it was just a lot cheaper at that time to run the call center overseas. So my employer said, he's going to, end all the U.S. based call centers and move everything overseas. And so me and a group of friends were basically out of a job where we managed those call centers.
So you go from that. How do you buy a business? Did you own a finance?
I had saved up. Luckily, I had saved up a good portion, and the banks were still loaning money at that time. So I contacted my bank, Bank of America at the time, and I said, hey, I need a line of credit. They, luckily I had an LLC opened up and things like that, and ironically, they were able to give me the difference as a line of credit.
Nice.
And so that was a big factor. And then, I think I spent the next 3 or 4 months just looking on Craigslist, business broker websites for small businesses, looked at everything from like Blimpies to Subways to, you name it, just something that would be beneficial for me to do that I could provide for my family, potentially grow, and enjoy somewhat doing. And so I ran into this pack and mail store in Grapevine, ran by a small business owner, and we clicked. He wanted to sell, I wanted to buy. We made the transaction. We just did a simple form and had it notarized at the bank and exchanged the funds. And he stayed on board and trained me for about a month up until Christmas. And then I was on my own from there. And basically it was me and a part-time employee. So I was a full-time employee owner. And I did a lot. I mean, I made a lot of improvements, I made a lot of adjustments, and, was able to really grow the business even more than what he was doing. But every business has a threshold, every store. So what I noticed is that, as time went by, the more I would try to do, I would only increase revenue by so much.
Yeah.
So it was either time for me to just accept that, this store is probably not going to do any more than this, or go find other stores. And so that's what I thought would be the best thing for me to do, is to find other shipping stores like mine. And so, I started looking again on the business broker websites, various places, and it was a lot tougher this time. I realized I found a diamond in the rough where, great city to own a business in, the clientele are really nice. It's a safe environment. Plus, this shipping business or this pack and mail business, it's meant for people who have more time, who have more money than they have time. If somebody has more time, then they don't mind waiting at the post office, or they don't mind, finding a cheaper route, where we have a surcharge. And, a lot of our clients are okay with that surcharge because of the fact that it's a convenience.
Yeah, you're fast.
Where I noticed that if I would have bought, maybe in another part of town, Fort Worth, Mesquite, maybe some of those other locations, the revenue was a lot less just because the services are not needed as much.
Yeah, there's no way I'm going to the post office.
Yeah.
It's funny you say all this. Like, I'm not in that space, but I'm like, okay, that makes like I'd rather go to a local mailbox.
Yeah.
place
So
anyway.
I learned that pretty quick. And so I was getting a little bit defeated, and being able to find other stores, the ones that were very nice and profitable, they wanted, so much, for these stores that in the event like FedEx or UPS store opened up across the street, or let's say some traffic pattern changed I'd be in big trouble.
Gotcha.
So
let's talk about real estate. How'd you get into real estate?
Yeah, good question. So one of my good clients at the shipping store, she was a big luxury Keller Williams agent, and she would come in and she would be scanning her contracts and, pull up in her beautiful car, and she wore all this gaudy jewelry, and, I'm just really envious of her, and very sweet lady, very humble lady. And so, one day I'd asked her, hey, can you help me? I need some help. And she said, sure, what can I help you with? And I said, I'm really looking for some other shipping stores because I want to grow my business. She says, well, I don't do that type of real estate, but I sell residential real estate, and I've been doing it for a long time. And, I see the way that you talk to your clients. I see the way that you talk to your customers. I see how much they like you and how much you care for them. I think if you were to focus some of that energy on selling real estate, you'd be really successful. And that never even crossed my mind. I mean, that light bulb never even entered my mind prior to that.
Sure.
And so, I kind of laughed when she said it. I said, I think it's a lady's business. Mm-hmm. That was my first reaction to that. And she says, no, absolutely not, And that was just me being naive, not knowing sure. what real estate really is.
And for many years, it was really a social club for women that could get together, and they had spouses that could provide income. And they would get together and go work at these, big box places, and they'd sell their 8 to 10 a year.
Yeah.
That's like 97% or less was floating in that space where they could still account for themselves being someone providing income, but their family didn't rely on it, and it became a social club. That's where a lot of them, spent their time. So it was a ladies' club for a long time.
Yeah, when you watch TV shows, or at that time back in the early 2000s, you'd only see predominantly a women business.
Sure.
And so the light bulb went off, and then to secure the deal, she said, Ali, if you need any help, with your first few transactions, if you need any help going on a listing appointment or meeting with a buyer, I'm more than happy to assist you, to join you. I want to help you succeed. And I said, man, how can I go wrong? I mean, I'm just going to take this test, get my license, and then I'm going to see how it goes. And then if I get stuck, she'll help me. And so in between customers, I would take the course, and I passed it pretty quick because I was pretty eager. So this was sometime in maybe summer of 2012. And then fast forward March of 2013, I'm a licensed agent onboarding with Keller Williams in South Lake to begin their training program as a new agent, and full of energy, full of life, and ready to conquer the real estate world.
So you joined them, and then were you there for just the time it took for you to go get your broker license? I mean, there's always a lot of things that happen in between.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, you see a lot of turnaround from agents and brokerages,
sure.
and, I was happy there. They helped me grow. I think they're a great company to help you grow to, 0 to 100 or 200 or, 300K GCI maybe a year. But everybody has a threshold where, then you start going outside the organization for additional training, support, resources. And they tried to help me, and I tried to grasp it, but for some reason I just was not growing. In 2018, I was there from 2013 to 2018. And I think 2017 was probably my best year in real estate. 2018, my numbers went down. 2019 went down. And I said, I've got to make some decision, or I've got to get out of the business.
Yeah.
And so I figured that by either joining a no-name broker or a flat fee broker or opening up my own brokerage, that would alleviate some of the commissions that I have to pay to the broker, which then I can offset that for maybe an admin or, some other lead generation or lead source.
So this is an important break and point for you. So you reach a point, what your income is, what you're having to give up every year, selling real estate. Most don't really do the calculation and figure that part out. They don't really think about it that way. So you were looking at it and calculating it that way. And you thought, what would you say, in the last couple of years, how many were being sold from being at KW South Lake? Were you selling anything from them, or this was 100% on you?
No, I mean...
This is the thing everyone misses out on, right? So they think the name and the brand in the store is going to be the one that creates the income, where it doesn't.
Right.
And I usually say, flip it things like brokers don't sell real estate, agents sell real estate.
Yes.
And that's an important distinction. So you can go effectively run on your own. Now you may lose some support, but maybe 5-6 years in the business, support really isn't
Right.
a priority.
You're
For
absolutely
you.
right.
You
No.
just need more at bats.
In terms of customers, I didn't get any from Keller Williams, but they were there for me for training, support, and then a lot of it was just going to sales meetings and seeing if this person can do it, so can I. If you see ladies who could barely walk, that would barely could walk up on the stage to get their award, but they're selling 10, 15 homes a month, or $2-3 million maybe in real estate in a single month. And that just really helps your motivation, and it helps your mind to say, this person can do it. I mean, even if I could do half of what maybe the top agent did, it's pretty good.
Yeah. It just wasn't worth $20,000-$30,000 a year to do it.
Yes, and it was up till a certain point for me, because I felt as long as I kept growing and my income kept growing, then I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
But when my gross commission started to drop, I realized that I needed to take action, or else I needed to get out of the business. One of the two.
Wasn't worth it.
Yes.
Gotcha. So somehow you landed on creating your own brokerage, right?
Yeah.
So you looked at other options, then you went ahead and said, I'm going to do it myself, and you took the broker test.
Yeah. Seems like I like to do major, changes in my life during the worst times. So here comes, March of 2020, and I'm in between taking my broker exam, and I passed the state exam, and I failed the national, which is the one with the short questions, like 20 questions. And so didn't pass it the first time, went and took it again, got the same test, same score the second time. She's like, if you just would have answered one or two more right, you would have passed.
Yeah.
And so, again, frustration kicked in a little bit, went and took a crash course at Champions.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I told my wife, I said, I'm going to take it one more time. If I can't pass, then I'm just going to,
sell shoes, or
I'm going to go work for a no-name broker or a flat fee broker, and
effectively run your own team too.
And then we'll see how it goes. Well, go take the test on a Friday, and I think it was like the Friday before spring break was over. Take the test. She said, you passed. Got my license right then and there for the broker, and then rushed to my car, immediately called my wife, tell her the great news. She said, you've been in your test, so you probably haven't heard the news. And I said, no.
Yeah, it's instant,
Yeah, what's going on? And she said, well, everything's shut down. I mean, COVID, they said, kids are not going back. Non-essential businesses are no longer going back to work. And I'm like, man.
Yeah, it was about March, spring break that year is when all of it started collapsing. Yeah.
Yes, and I remember that just because I happened to pass that test on that Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And so I immediately walked into Keller Williams, told the team leader that, I'm no longer going to be with the brokerage. I'm going to go out on my own. And, he was pretty astonished. He was just saying, do you know what's going on? And, I think this is going to be a very bad decision in your real estate career, because, now more than ever, you need the large brokerage, and you need the know-how and all the tools and resources that we have. And I said, you might be right. You might be right. I may come back, but I've got to do this. Yeah. I've made up my mind. And
that's another thing. People think it's so hard to change brokerages. You can unhook and hook anywhere.
Yeah, and in 7 years, I never left.
Yeah.
So 7 years, I was dedicated to the one brokerage, and I truly liked it. I mean, I liked the camaraderie, and I liked, the place of work.
It's hard to beat the community.
Yeah.
So that's a big change, where we had brick and mortar for all these years, and then cloud was born out of the internet, and giving the power to the buyers and sellers, which deflated the power of the broker. And when that happened, then all of a sudden they have these, well, if you don't need the building, you don't need the broker name, then we'll come up with cloud-based. So cloud-based became the efficient answer to solve real estate problems without having realizing that the brokers weren't selling their houses anymore.
That's right.
It was really about the agents. But what was given up was the community. That's a big challenge for the cloud-based. Can offer lots of crazy cool stuff.
Right.
But when agents don't have other agents in a community around them, then it's really hard to flourish and get excited. I can operate as an entrepreneur on my own, running my own show, but I know most people aren't that way.
Right.
Most like to be around other people.
Yeah.
And I realized that's why I created that school community, to give people a place to start interacting and give them events and things they can go to. And they can work for anybody. I mean, they don't have to, be on my group or my team.
Yeah.
So you did that, you ran out on your own, and you started selling 1 million houses a year day one, right?
I wish. But however, I did start letting my customers know while I was taking the test that, I am getting my license. And sure enough, I had 2-3 customers that said, Ali, we actually plan on selling or buying, and we'll actually wait for you. And I was like, how can this be? I mean, these are just the nicest people. And what I noticed is if they know, like, and trust you, then they will help you. And you, in the same respect, will help them. And so that's the way I started doing it. I said, Ali, don't look at your commission. Don't look at what you're going to get at the end. First focus at the task at hand, which is helping them buy the home, helping them sell the home, helping them through the process of buying and selling. And then whatever's due will come.
Sure. Well, one of the things that it does cost you is having customers is they have requirements and things like that. We got work-life balance to consider. So you have 2 kids now. Obviously you're married. We've talked about that a number of times. So how do you manage that work-life balance? Because the general notion of real estate agents is you have to give up weekends and evenings. And it's not told you up front, but you figure it out because that's when buyers are available to go look at houses and make contracts.
Yeah, great question. And in the beginning, I'll be honest, when somebody said jump, I jumped.
Yeah.
I'd have buyers that would call me at 2:00 and say, Ali, we want to see this house at 2:45.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've got other things to do, and that's 45 minutes from now. How can I possibly do that? Book the appointment and show them the home, and I would do it. But at that time, when you're new and you're hungry and,
Well, you didn't understand the benefit of boundaries. You were just looking at the opportunity to create that transaction.
Yes.
And I don't want them to let them down, but you got to set boundaries up front.
You do. Or else you'll work yourself out of the business. And, you're a one-man show majority of the time as a real estate agent.
Sure.
You may have some administrative help or some people who might help you show a home, but you've got to have a schedule and, you've got to be able to have your downtime to work on your business and also give time to your family and also time to rest because, every week goes by very fast. And if you don't get some downtime for yourself, you're going to burn out very fast.
One of the things you talked about, 2017, you had a good year. Okay. Good numbers, good year during that period of time. And then 18, it was less, 19 was less. And it was coming down, and you actually got to the point where if I continue this path, I can't continue to sell real estate. Now, many that get in, if they're past 3 or 5 years, they typically stay. So one of the things that I know you wanted to kind of talk about is maintaining numbers. And there's a threshold at some point that you would say it's not worth staying in. What do you do as far as, working on? Because that's a challenge.
Yeah.
Honestly, we all got to sell enough houses. For me, if I'm selling less than 50 houses a year, I'll probably go bankrupt. Just because of the systems and scalability I've put in place.
Right.
Where most agents, if they could just sell 10 or 12, they're rich, they're good.
Right, yeah. For me, it wasn't like, could I pay my bills or could I sustain my household? It wasn't that. I just wasn't happy with the way things were going. And I didn't want to be in the business if I was just continuously declining. And, that played a larger role than anything else at that time. I needed to fix the problem.
Well, how do you feel now, right? So this is more personal, right? So in 2022, most of us had good years. That's when the market exploded. COVID locked everyone down. The interest rates were stupid low. People were, you could put a sign in the yard and get 10 offers. So that was an insane time.
Yes.
I think I sold 127 houses that year.
Wow. Yes.
That was insane. And then the next year was not that way.
Yeah.
And then the year after, last year, was not that way. So how are you feeling today as far as production in your future?
Yeah. So, since leaving the larger brokerage, starting my own brokerage, sales have been up. We've increased every year over year.
Nice.
And, things are going well. In fact, so well that I was able to bring on some agents last year. And currently I have 3 agents under the brokerage that I mentor and help them grow their business, as well as, it brings more attention to the brokerage and we have more market share in the market.
What do you consider your market share? Like Grapevine, Colleyville?
Yeah, I service a 10-mile radius around DFW Airport. That's my area. I don't go past downtown Fort Worth. I don't really go past Carrollton area because it's just, I'm a one-man show when it comes to selling real estate.
Yeah.
And it's really hard for me to service the amount of clients that I service on a normal basis if I go further out.
Gotcha.
However, I have agents that service like Justin, Crowley, McKinney, all those areas. And maybe they're specialized in those areas. Maybe they know a lot more than, let's say, I do in those areas. But I feel like I really know the DFW Metroplex on a hyperlocal, like 10-mile radius around the airport is my favorite, is where I really like to work.
I like that you defined it that way. That's good.
Yeah, HEB, Grapevine, Colleyville, Hearst,
Sure.
Euless, Bedford, Trophy Club, Roanoke, Keller. Those are like the target zones that I like to work because I've just been in these areas for a long period of time.
It's funny, I remember trying, because I've been in Grapevine for more than 10 years, and I've never been able, I don't know if anyone can really own Grapevine. The problem with Grapevine is that it's incredibly eclectic.
Yes.
You have Old Town, which is nothing like the other side of 121, which is more like Colleyville, and then you have the lake area, which a lot of these, lower cost properties, they're nothing like, everything is like its own space, and there's a lot of apartments right off of Northwest Highway, which separates a lot of it as well.
Very different. You have by the lake, you have one that's adjacent to Colleyville, you have one that's adjacent to Euless, you have one that's adjacent to South Lake, and you have...
You can be in Grapevine and go to
area.
South Lake.
Yeah, so so many different pockets.
And Main Street doesn't match any of that.
Yes.
They just all happen to have the same, city name.
Yes, and I grew up in HEB. I went to the HEB ISD school district from elementary to high school, and so that, I know Euless very well. Our church is in Euless and our mosque. So, for those things, I think that it gives me a little bit of an advantage in the area.
Okay. So Euless, is that Trinity? Is that where you
went to Trinity High School and graduated from there. And so, it's been a good venture.
You play football for Trinity?
No, not even. I wouldn't even have attempted at that time.
So growing your business has been a challenge. Any other things you want to share with that space? So you have your own brand, you have your own brokerage. It's growing year after year. Do you have anything in particular you're doing to grow it, or it's just you just sold enough in the sphere of influence and things are coming back?
Yeah, I just want to continue to help buyers and sellers. And right now I'm in year 12, so I'm getting a lot of repeat referral business, which is really great. I feel like it's great it's always easier to work with somebody who's been referred to you or a past client than somebody maybe you've never met before or you just got a cold lead on. So I enjoyed that. I want to continue to help mentor agents, kind of like yourself, where you're doing the school and the training for that. I think it's good. It kind of keeps me giving back, as well as, keeps me growing as well as a person, as an individual. And real estate is really vast. And so I think this next level of, running and managing a brokerage is exciting and fun. We're working on all the back end and front end procedures at this time to set up to be able to obtain more agents and to...
So you have a growth pattern of growing agents as well as transactions, but you want to actually continue to add. Are you a percentage split or a flat fee?
We are a percentage split.
Okay.
We are a percentage split. We have a cap, very similar to a large brokerage. I think the only difference is we're just a lot smaller. You have direct broker support. And I believe that we can provide tools that are just as great as some of these larger brokerages, especially now that, software and everything has become so much more readily available with AI and various platforms.
For sure. Can you think of and this is always fun, mistake that you've made?
Oh, many.
That you think would be a real value for people to learn from? Most of the audience is really other agents. It's less about buyers and sellers, normally about other agents. So is there a mistake you made in your experience that you look back and now you're not going to do that again, or just a really good growth opportunity?
Yeah, one of my biggest mistakes is I feel like I need all the pieces of the puzzle to start something, and that's not the case. You don't need to know everything to make a move. Sometimes you have to make a move before you have all the answers, because you will find the rest of the answers only by making that move.
It's funny, I remember creating my sphere of influence system, and it took me almost 8 months to send out my very first newsletter because I wanted it to look good.
Yes.
I wanted it to be professional, and I ended up going with Keeping Current Matters, which is a pretty standard.
Yes.
And I just knew it had the bandwidth, it had the ability to do what I wanted to do, and it had good articles. So I went with them to help me get my message out. But I remember waiting 8 months. That was 8 months of not touching my sphere of influence.
Oh yeah. And then, we have a lot of head games in our mind too, right? Where, somebody might not even think that, but you in your own mind are telling yourself, no, or it's not possible, or I don't think I should do it this way. And a lot of times when we listen to those thoughts that are, even running in our head, it's a little discouraging. And if you can fight those battles and push through, a lot of times you'll reap the reward just by doing it.
Sure. Is there a technology you've been able to really hone in on or take advantage of? It could be AI, it could be social media posts, it could be something you do in their listings that's kind of unique and spontaneity.
Yeah, I like social media. I'm really great at Facebook. I'm almost non-existent on Instagram, but I'm learning now. I feel like that's where the future is going, is towards Instagram. But I have to admit that social media is the best form of marketing and advertising that an agent or a broker could do, because majority of the time it doesn't cost anything. If anything, just whatever it costs to make the production, or if you're gonna boost it or do a Facebook ad. But these organic type of posts are so valuable, not only for your sphere, but even to others that are not in your sphere, because it reaches so many.
When you say Facebook, are you referring to like your business page?
Business page, personal page. When I first started real estate, my wife had said, make sure you take a picture at closing. And I never really understood that in the beginning. And, to the point where she would say, I'm not going to let you in the home if you didn't take a picture at closing. And in the beginning, she would post it for me. And now, I'm the one who does, majority of the posting and things like that. And it greatly helps, and our society, our world right now is people like to see you working. Even though you may be working very hard and nobody's watching.
Right.
It's just a
It's hard
society
to prove that
nowadays.
without some type of evidence.
Yes, they want to see you. They want to know that, are you successful? Are you working? Do you have a track record? And a great way to display that, besides other things like reviews or referrals, is posting it on social media.
Okay. So social media posting, is there any other advice you might give to either someone starting in real estate or someone looking to grow their real estate business?
Yes, I would say work on your business just as much as you work in your business. So if you're going to spend 6 hours a day working, save that last hour to work on your business, because
In the future.
Yeah, for the future. Like, set goals, where do you see yourself, 1 year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, whether that's going to be a solo agent, maybe starting a team, whatever that looks like in the real estate realm.
What steps are we doing in that last hour that gets us closer to that goal?
Setting.
Yeah. So if our goal is to add 3 agents, well, we need to have a platform for them to join. So maybe we need to spend an hour each day coming up with a part of that platform.
Right.
This is an example.
Yes.
Or if I want to grow and do 100 transactions when I did 50 this year, well, 50, how do I get 50 more transactions?
That's right.
It's going to take this many number of phone calls to my database in order to gain some traction, or whatever it is. That's good.
And then somebody's already invented the wheel. Somebody's already been through what you've been through. And if you can find a mentor or read a book or go to a training course that will accelerate you to get to that level versus you trying and failing, that may be a better option. I don't think it's called copying or cheating. If somebody's doing really good in your field, you may ask them, what makes you successful? How are you doing what you're doing? And yes, some might
You
not
can't
like
duplicate them, but you can duplicate what they're doing, and that's where the difference is, right? I don't care if anyone copies a lot of the things that I'm doing. I know they can't copy me.
Yeah.
And that's okay, right? I mean, you can, do some of the same things I'm doing and have some success, but you're not copying the person. So it's okay to do a lot of those.
Yes, and there's enough business to go around.
There is.
And then a lot of times, you go to these large training events and the speaker will say, hey, I'm happy to show you exactly what I do line by line, but are you going to do it?
It's funny, Ollie, we both close a lot of real estate and we're not even a quarter mile apart.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever done a deal with you.
Yeah, no.
I'd have to go back and look. I normally get in my database because of my only transactions. I've had my same email since 2008.
Yeah, I don't believe we've done
I don't
a transaction
recognize,
together.
and I'll probably go and look at it. I don't think we've ever done a deal, or even, anyone in your group. Yeah. It's just funny, that means there's so much.
There's so much.
We're a quarter mile apart. We've never done one together. We've been doing this, successfully for years. I love all that. It's fantastic. Is there anything else that you want to share? I think would be of real value.
I think we've covered a lot of topics, and I think, given a good gist of what my background is and, how I've gotten where I've gotten, and, just don't give up, and keep pushing forward. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Sure. And most try and they don't work out. So getting with agents that are 5+ years in the business, if you don't have the credibility, find someone that can give it to you.
Yes.
Like you have 3 agents with you. I assume they're all newer.
Yes and no. Yes and no. One is actually a licensed appraiser who's been doing it for many years, and he holds his real estate license. His broker retired, and so he decided to come on board.
Gotcha.
The other two are past clients who have been in real estate for 2 to 5 years, and decided to come on board once I decided to bring on agents.
Gotcha. And they can lean on your credibility for their transactions. So if you don't have credibility, find someone that can lend it to you.
Yes.
Until you can build your own. So
Yes.
It's tough. The first 3 to 5 years, you got to find that credibility.
Yes.
And it really makes a difference. How do we find you?
You can find me at merchantrealtygroup.com or Instagram, Facebook, Merchant Realty Group.
Okay, well, very good. I appreciate you joining us and doing this interview with me. It was very good. I'm sure we'll see each other in plenty more opportunities. We've got some of the same marketing and connections there. So that's all I've got for today. I appreciate you tuning in for the next episode and have a high performance week. Thank you. That wraps up another episode of Real Estate Success DFW. I hope you're leaving with new insights that push your real estate career forward. If you enjoyed the show, please be sure to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with fellow agents who's ready to succeed. And if you're interested in working together or have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. Reach out to me directly. My personal phone is 214-228-0383. Let's connect and make real estate success happen together. Until next time, keep pushing forward. I'm Shaune Corbett, and this is the Real Estate Success DFW. Have a high performance week.